Welcome. Great to have you here. This is a unique moment, a moment that unites all of us. We all face anxiety and loss. We all see broken systems. We all experience the impact of the climate crisis. This is a unique moment. This is a turning point if we choose to make it one. This is a moment to reflect, to learn, to share, and to co-create. And I invite you to contribute. I ask you to contribute. I ask you to partner to fix broken systems. I ask you to join the movement so everyone can step into their change-making power. I ask you to nominate the next generation of changemakers. And I ask you to share your wisdom, your knowledge, your expertise. And I ask you to donate to support changemakers. This is our moment to fix the world. This is our moment to contribute. Today is the day, and you are the one.
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening for who's joining us, and welcome to the session Tech and Humanity on how Ashoka Fellows are putting technology at the service of education, sustainable production, and equity of the Ashoka Changemakers Summit. My name is Enrica, and I have the pleasure to be part of the Venture and Fellowship team at Ashoka, working particularly in Italy, and today I will be the facilitator for this session. We are, of course, thrilled to have you join the Ashoka Changemakers Summit, and I hope you had a chance to join other sessions today. We are gathering this powerful and inspiring community of social entrepreneurs, impact professionals, philanthropists, change leaders in education, and engaging change makers to embark together on a journey towards certainty. So thanks for joining us, and I'm happy to introduce you, first of all, my colleague SG, who's working from Turkey, who's joining Ashoka, of course, and I have the pleasure to work with her on the global and venture team, and she will help us with the session and we'll collect your question. SG.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. This is Ezgi from Ashoka Turkey, connecting from Istanbul. I am your session coordinator for today, and I will collect your questions and your comments from Swapcard and direct it to our panelists. So before we start, as some of you are already doing, please let us know where are you connecting from. And have a great session. Back to you, Enrica.
Thank you. So I'm now introducing our speakers, which are brand new Ashoka Fellows just elected in year 2020. First of all, Vincent Lagacé. He is the founder of Noop, a Mexican social enterprise that seeks to make the food system more inclusive and efficient by developing market access and data solutions for smallholder in agriculture. We will have, of course, the chance to talk to him later. And Gemma Golden, which I really thank so much for making here, because it's the third time that Gemma is joining a session today on the Changemaker Summit. But with amazing fellows, we really want everybody to have the chance to listen to them. So Gemma Golden is the founder of Ethicals Consulting, which is, and she has developed an algorithm audit that identify bias in data and other algorithm which can contribute to perpetuate injustice and inequity. This is something that normal people never think about. So I'm one of those, and I will just be so excited to learn more about it. And Francesca Cavallini, she's from Italy, while Gemma is based in Spain and Vincent is based in Mexico. Francesca is a psychologist, and she is the founder of Teacher, that promotes awareness in every teenager. She works in supporting them in the realization of change and supporting them to be change makers. She mainly works with students with special educational needs, and she supports them in becoming special entrepreneurs. So I'm happy to leave the floor to Vincent so that he can tell us more about Noop.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Enrica. Well, nice. Thank you so much for being part of this panel. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Vincent Lagasi, and I am based in Mexico, Ashoka Fellow since last year, actually. And I am co-founder of Noop. Noop, which means connection in the Maya language, is a social enterprise, like you said, Enrica, that seeks to make the food system more efficient and more inclusive of smallholder farmers. And we do this by developing data solutions for farmers, and also by developing market access strategies. So I think the first question that we can start with is, why do we focus on smallholder farmers? And the simple answer is that smallholder farmers represent the majority of farmers worldwide. And here in Mexico, they represent about 2/3 of all farmers. So about 68% of all farmers here in Mexico work on less than 5 hectares. And they represent a huge contribution in terms of food security in Mexico. They produce about 40% of the food that is consumed nationally. And also they're at the center stage of the fight against climate change, against deforestation, and also the preservation of biodiversity here in Mexico. So, but despite this outsized influence of smallholder farmers, what we see in the field is that they're really suffering from low productivity compared to larger farmers, and also from low market prices, because they have often they depend for market access on a wide network of middlemen, of intermediaries. So they don't have to get their products to the market. So they don't have direct market access to final markets. So that in turn traps them in a poverty cycle due to low productivity and low prices. So we at Noop, we believe that smallholder farmers can be empowered in many ways, and we firmly believe that technology has to be part of the solution. I don't know if you can go to the next slide, please. So we at Noop, over the past 2 years, have been developing different tools to really empower farmers to get them the information in their hands and get them to make better farm management and market decisions by using technology, right? By developing apps and by developing web platforms. So how do these apps and how do these solutions kind of compare in this broader market? Because there's so much. If you go to the App Store, there's so many different solutions out there. Like how is this innovative? I would say in three key ways. The first one is the price point. Everything that we develop is free and is always going to be free for these farmers. Just like, for example, for tech developers, you have all these free programs and these free tools, or you have Wikipedia, for example, that create a lot of value, to these communities. Well, we need free tools also for farmers, because at the moment, much of what exists is very expensive, and it's not uncommon to see, for example, some tools that are very, very pretty, very complete, very exhaustive, but that have a very high price tag, sometimes up to $500 or $600 per user per year, which makes them extremely unaffordable for smallholder farmers. So one key element of our model is that these tools have to be free for farmers. The second element is, I would say, our farmer-centric design, because many tools that are out there are more designed towards, or more geared towards technician, agronomists, or highly specialized staff, or sometimes large farmers that are very technologically savvy. So what we do at Noop is that we invest a lot in user experience to work directly with farmers and develop very, very easy to use, very simple solutions that work for them. So this farmer-centric development approach is really kind of a big differentiator for us. And the third piece is we firmly believe that technology can play a role also in shifting agricultural practices towards more sustainable production models. So we nudge through different mechanisms, for example, through gamification and through incentives-based models that are baked in the apps. we nudge farmers toward more sustainable agricultural practices by telling them, for example, not to use more than a certain quantity of pesticide, for example, or we try to nudge them towards more environmentally friendly alternatives, or and other ways. So we use gamification and all kinds of different ways in the apps to kind of push farmers towards more sustainable production models. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, this is a little bit what we do at Noop. So at the moment, we have developed 2 apps that are currently in the Android store and are developing a few more. We also have a web platform that is kind of like Facebook or LinkedIn for smallholder farmers and their organizations to connect with better markets. And we are in the process of integrating a whole suite of tools that are very, very easy to use, that are entirely free, and that can be used in different contexts for different types of farmers. So in a nutshell, that's a little bit what we do. So I'm looking forward to hearing your questions.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I'm pretty sure there will be more questions coming. And now I leave the floor to Gemma, but please, let's try to put the speaker view very quickly, SG, so that okay. So the next slide is for Gemma. Here we go, Gemma. You are on mute. You should unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Better now? Okay, great. So thanks for having me. Don't apologize, Enrica, for exploiting me. Lovely to be exploited by Ashoka, to be honest. I've gotten a lot from it, so I really don't mind giving back. And also, I love talking about what I do. So just to explain a lot in very little time, I've been working on the social impact of technology for a long time. And one of the things that I learned is that our current tech system is broken. There's some things that are fundamentally flawed in the way that we do technology. What I found in my work over time, and I've been working on this for over a decade, is that technologies, the current technologies we have, and especially artificial intelligence, reproduce inequalities and reproduce and expand discrimination. That's the current normal in technology. And so working in this field, I grew very uncomfortable with some of the things that I was seeing, and the little that I could do by just writing reports and expressing my opinion. And I've been very lucky to collaborate with some very high-level advisory groups for really important institutions like the European Commission, the Inter-American Development Bank, different parts of the world. But I felt I had to do more, and that I felt that I had an insight that could allow me to do more. So what I did is create Fund Ethicas, which is both a consulting and a foundation, where we try to translate values and laws into technical specifications. And I'll talk a little bit more about this. So our STAR service at the moment is algorithmic auditing. We audit algorithms. And some of you may say, what is an algorithm? Well, an algorithm is very complex, but also very simple. It's just a tiny, sometimes big, but it's just a formula. It's a calculation. It's a way of calculating if A, then B, and then we can extend that and make it bigger. But basically, an algorithm is what shows you the best route on your mobile phone when you leave your house in the morning and want to see how to get to work faster. It's an algorithm that decides that. There's no dwarf behind your phone trying to see what the best route is, but it's an algorithm. It's a system that looks at how have people traveled in that distance in the past, and understands that the thing that most people have done is the best thing to do. It mixes that with current traffic or weather conditions, and it gives you the best route. It recommends the best route. So that's an algorithm. An algorithm is also responsible for choosing the next film you'll watch on television. Once you finish a film and your Netflix or HBO, whatever, comes up with a suggestion, that's also an algorithm. And what the algorithm does is look at what have people watched after they watched what you just watched. And on the basis of that, assumes that you will want to watch the same, or that there's a high chance that you will want to watch that the film that they're suggesting. So algorithms are deciding how we move about, what we watch on television, but they're also deciding more and more whether we go to jail. We have algorithms deciding the time that people need to spend in jail or how much bail they need to pay before being free. We have algorithms deciding whether people get a job, whether people get a mortgage, whether you get unemployment coverage or social security assistance, even medical attention. Hospitals are relying on algorithms to decide whether people deserve medical attention and in what urgency they need that medical attention. So algorithms are just spreading everywhere, from the most banal to the most impactful in our lives. And what we realize working with these algorithms is that they have fundamental problems because of the way that they work. Because an algorithm, it's just a system that studies, it's fed with data from the past and makes a guess on the basis of past data. What algorithms basically do is gather past discriminations oftentimes and reproduce them. So when I was talking about medical algorithms, we've seen algorithms in emergency rooms that were built not using medical data, but using financial data. So whether you would get medical attention going into the emergency room was not decided on the basis of your illness, but on the basis of how much money did it cost the hospital to treat people like you before. So no medical reasoning behind the decision, but an economic reason, which is fundamentally problematic because you may have a disease that can be very easily cured, but it may be life-threatening, or you can have a disease that may take a long time. And it doesn't matter if we see you today or tomorrow, that will be very expensive, but you can wait in the emergency room. So we've seen problems like this in algorithms, but also what we found in these algorithms specifically that was audited in the United States is that because in the US, Black Americans have been going less to the emergency room because they have an historical distrust of the medical system. And because when they go to the doctor, they get worse treatment and less money is spent on them. What the algorithm was saying is that is the normal. So whenever a Black American comes to my system, I need to put them down the list. So that's what algorithms do. They just learn from the past and reproduce those patterns of the past. Unfortunately, when those patterns of the past are imbued or full of historical discriminations, algorithms just take them on and reproduce them and turn them into the new normal. But so basically, and please go to the next slide, on the internet, in algorithms, the only normal is a white man. Anything that is not a white man who looks like that guy is a risk factor, is an anomaly, because algorithms learn on the majority. So what most people watched on Netflix in the past, what most people did to get from A to B in the past, that's how they make their decisions. So if the training data is overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly male for the algorithm, that is the normal. And women are discriminated when trying to get a mortgage or credit because decisions are being made on these normals decided by algorithms. So I was really, I felt just very uneasy about some of the things that I was finding in my research initially and then in my work with the industry, and seeing how badly algorithms were being developed and put out into the world. And so I wanted to do something about that. So what we've done is create a methodology that tries to incorporate these complex understanding of reality and of vulnerable populations and of risk factors and of the needs of society when technological processes are involved, and use that methodology to fix tech, to fix algorithms, to improve algorithms. Luckily, one of the things that we found is that bad practice in the tech world is not due to bad faith. You don't have people who want to be evil with their algorithms and do really bad things to people. It's more lack of knowledge. You have a field, engineering, that it's overwhelmingly male, overwhelmingly white, but also overwhelmingly alone. They tend to work alone. Technical teams are just technical people talking to technical people. If you want to turn complex social problems like medical attention into algorithmic systems, you need to understand the complexity of the issue that you're trying to solve. So with our methodology, we bring into the algorithm all this knowledge about the complexity of human phenomena, and we make sure that those systems do not further discriminate vulnerable populations. So if you go to the next slide. So what we do, basically, it's just translate those laws and values that protect us in the offline world into the online world. We feel that it's high time that technology starts to be regulated just like everything else. We regulate food, we regulate how cars move about, we regulate medicine, we regulate absolutely everything. Why not tech? How come when you go to the pharmacy, you know what's inside every piece of medicine that you may take? You know what's in your food. You know how to understand everything around the world, and you know how to trust the things around you. But if you download an app in your phone, you have no way of knowing if that app is built for addiction, for instance. You have no way of knowing how that app is interacting with your personal data and how that app is understanding you and building recommendations based on that understanding of you. So as I said, and I want to finish here because I know we're short on time, we are trying to fix tech with this one tool. We have lots of others. I encourage you to check out theethicusfoundation.org to see all the things that we're doing. But we truly believe that through algorithmic auditing, we can start to bring some sanity, complexity, and some social science into the world of tech.
Thank you so much, Gemma. This was really opening my mind on a new way of thinking, and I hope was the same for other people that, I mean, we know what an algorithm is for just listening to conversations around social media and everything, but really thinking on everything that is, you know, how you mentioned, built around our data without, you know, knowing what's in it. It's definitely something we should be thinking about. So thanks a lot for all this sharing. And I would like to leave the floor to Francesca Cavallini now, and so that she can introduce us to her work.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Francesca Cavallini, and I have thought about my story several times, and maybe I'm boring for Enrica because I try to look for the reasons that led me to found Teacher. I was born in a sweet, crazy, and large Italian family. I didn't have great pains or worries, but at some point in my life, I understand what I want to do. It was 1988 and I was 10. My mother worked in a middle school as a special teacher, and she helped adolescents to struggle at school. And she used to take me with her when she went to work, and I was afraid, terrified of all these adolescents. They smoke, sometimes they beat, they seem to me bad and angry. And so next slide, please. Once, a long time ago, I was so afraid that I hid in a school cabinet. And from there, I saw every adolescent working alone with my mom. They talked, they did their homework, they studied, and it was strange, but they seemed to me really different. There was one with face full of pimples who told her he raised canaries and he can talk with them. And there was a very large who made sculpture with tubes. And thinking back to that moment, I really realized what I want to do, and that I want to do that job, to see, find, extract, communicate, share, and bring to the light potential of adolescents struggling and failing at school. Because thousands and thousands of adolescents struggling and failing at school every year. Almost 10% of European adolescents struggling. and they develop psychopathology like anxiety and depression. They drop out. They are at risk of social isolation. They are cyberbullying, and they are at risk of not to find a job. And as Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. But there is something more. I think we are stupid if we don't see different opportunities and possibilities. There are thousands and thousands of ideas, solution, innovation in those minds. And so what is my task, my vocation? My job is to try to teach teachers, parents, psychologists, and society to see potential ideas, a solution, innovation in adolescents struggling and failing at school. And obviously, build awareness in every adolescent and tell him, try and believe, because I believe in you. And this is why I'm still studying methodologies to support learning, emotional relations of adolescents struggling and failing at school. Because educational and psychological services for adolescents are specifically aimed at reducing symptoms, and services to encourage job are not individualized and offer standardized opportunities. And so adolescents feel they lack or their symptoms or their difficulties will prevent them from getting any relevant job. I can't be an engineer because I'm not good in math. I can't be a teacher because I'm not good in reading. And every failure reduces the courage to try. And every year in Europe, we will lose ideas, potential, and innovation. But now, I'm sorry, I'm almost at the end. I want to know if it happens to you too to feel like these adolescents. Maybe you have had an idea, or maybe you have an idea today, but maybe it's too strange or unconventional, or you have an unconventional ability. And maybe you first, you don't trust in you and you don't try. I felt and I feel like these adolescents, maybe during some social challenge competition or some digital competition or some grant, or when I present my organization to politics, I feel like an adolescent struggling at school. Because maybe now I feel like this, because you may be wondering what I have to do with technology and why I'm here. Why I'm here to talk about technology. So I feel like an adolescent now. The next, please. But what I'm trying to say is that psychology can't survive without technology. Technology matters with psychology and matters with adolescents. And we use technology to create relations. We use technology to share data with other colleagues and to make research. We use technology to teach other psychologists. We use technology to help adolescents to stay safe in the web. We use technology to help adolescents to become entrepreneurs and to invent new digital social startups. And we use technology to design the future, to help more adolescents to express their potential. And yes, technology matters with us, and technology matters with teachers. That's why we are here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Francesca, for sharing this. And I would like to get a little bit back to our audience and see where people are connected from. So SG, would you like to tell us which cities, countries?
Yes, thank you, Enrica. In the beginning of the session, we asked you where you were connecting from, and we have lots of different answers. So happy to have all of you in this session. So we have some people from Berlin, Argentina, Portugal, Ecuador, Spain, US, DC, USA, Turkey, Canada, and Morocco, and lots of others. So thank you for being here. And also in our panelists, we have Vincent from Mexico, Francesca from Italy, and Gemma from Spain, and Enrica from Italy again. So we are a very diverse group right now, and we are happy to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for this overview. So now I would like to open the floor for a conversation and some questions that will rise from the audience as well, but from myself. So to get deeper into your work, in the one of all of you, I'd like to ask my first question to Vincent and asking him what's the biggest challenge that he is facing today in terms of new threats, but also opportunities in this historical moment with the pandemic going on.
Right. I think that's a very valid question and very relevant question considering the current crisis. Obviously, the pandemic is affecting all our work, and working with farmers is no exception. Farmers keep working because we all need food, but all of us that are working around farmers and providing services to farmers and trying to make these value chains more efficient, obviously we're being affected. So at the moment, I would say the biggest challenge to our work has been not being able to travel to the field, because I don't think I mentioned this in my presentation. Technology is a very, very important tool that can allow farmers to make better decisions, to better communicate and connect to buyers, but it's not the only answer. It has always to be paired together with in-person training, with in-person contact, because we can't replace this human touch, right? So our model at Noop works best when you combine these in-person interaction with technology, and you really leverage technology to take these in-person training to another level and follow support remotely. So by not being able to travel to the field, by not being able to offer that technical assistance and in-person training, obviously we've been having major challenges as an organization. But I would say that the bright side of the situation is that we have seen a very interesting response from farmers who have been adopting our tools in a much more enthusiastic way than before. So I would say that this current crisis is kind of accelerating the adoption of our tools by farmers. And some of them who maybe before were a little bit more reluctant to use them, but now they see the need really to use them to connect with their technical systems partners or to access information that they can't have otherwise. So in a sense, this is kind of opening some opportunities, right, in the context of this pandemic. And I think I should also answer kind of like with beyond the pandemic also in terms of the challenges that we face. Just I want to throw the idea out there because I think that it's relevant for the conversation also as well. One of the big challenges that we have as an organization, obviously, is how do we make these tools that are free sustainable in the long run? Because we don't want these tools to disappear in 1 or 2 years. So we always need like this permanent maintenance. Just like, for example, Wikipedia is a free tool, but there is a lot of people working behind Wikipedia, right? So we want to do the same with our tools for smallholder farmers. So part of our big challenges as an organization is how do we create a business model that does generate some income in some ways. And this can be through some freemium functionalities, for example, for our tools, or through other income generation models. And that's a little bit one of our big challenges as an organization that we're looking into at the moment. Anyway, so that's my answer.
Thank you. We will get back to you later, but because I have more questions now. But I would like to ask my next one to Gemma, which also, of course, working in technology during this time of increasing people on the internet has been also challenging for her organization. So how did you improve your work during this time?
It's been a challenge, just like for everyone else, internally, but also externally. I think a lot of people and a lot of people in the team also have suffered because of this crisis. So it hasn't been easy, and my heart goes out to everyone who's still having a hard time in this under this climate. What we have found, though, is that with the sudden digitalization of everything, some of the risks that we've been warning about in the last few years, all of a sudden are impacting on a lot more people. So if anything, our task has become even more urgent and more important, that those algorithms that are now impacting a lot more people because we are doing lots more things online. And so we are giving our data for a lot more things. And public administration around the world is incorporating these new techniques in artificial intelligence to manage and deal with the crisis and provide services to the population. And so it is more important than ever that these systems work well and that these systems don't discriminate and that we can all work together to build better tech. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do. Basically, we've had a tech development up till now, which has been fundamentally flawed, but we can fix that. Artificial intelligence is the result of the work of a lot of people. It's an example of human progress, definitely. But there's things that need to be fixed in order for it to continue to contribute things to the world, in order for it to be able to spread to all corners of our lives and intimacy and work. We need to take those precautions. And so we need to audit those algorithms. We need to understand how artificial intelligence works, because when someone is denied access to a service, to financial help, to a job, they have a right actually to know how that decision was made and why it was made. And if the decision is wrong, they need to be able to seek redress. All those things that we take for granted in the offline world, we have not been able to translate into the online world. So I would say that the pandemic has just reasserted the need for our work, the need for more people out there as well to become algorithmic auditors. I am convinced that our way of growing is not competition, but collaboration. We want to build an ecosystem of people who can look deep into algorithms and build fairness and equity into the algorithms. So if anyone wants to become an algorithmic auditor, reach out to Ethicas, reach out to us. We're more than happy to share our knowledge, our expertise, to ensure that for everyone out there who's developing an algorithm, there's someone next to them who is helping them do it better.
Thanks a lot, Gemma. Thanks also for your call to action. I do believe in your words when you talk about building an ecosystem, which is the strength of Ashoka Fellows, just try to become system changing and not just create a direct service. So what I would like to ask to Francesca, which is also working on this very fragile time of life with teenagers when they are building their personality, and now that social media networks and all the technology is affecting them so much, so that also emotions can go through how many followers you have on Instagram, or how many likes you get for your last selfie. So how are you create certainty, so that we also go back to our summit title? How do you create certainty in this unique historic phase for teenagers? How are you helping them to be solid?
So, Erika, your question opened my mind. Psychology and my studies give me only one answer to your question. Because the only certainty is that you should learn how to stay with uncertainty. So we try and we use technology to try to teach to adolescents and family to think uncertainty, to project uncertainty, and to stay and to be able to stay with emotion related to uncertainty. And so maybe we have like online free mindfulness session. We help adolescents to stay together and to learn how to stay with bad emotions, with bad feelings. And I think really the only certainty is that we all, not just teenagers, should learn how to stay, how to project, how to use uncertainty and to survive.
Okay, thanks a lot. So while we collect questions from the audience, SG, is there anybody who already reached out? Otherwise, we can keep going with this conversation.
Yes, actually, we have some questions. We can just jump onto the chat. There are some questions to Vincent, actually. Most of them are to you. So let me ask you one of them. Do you think there are any real limitations to a social enterprise model, rather than a model which has a side and monetizable side facing other clients? Sorry for my reading. So he's actually asking that if you think that there's a limitation to a social enterprise model. Daniel Skirtin is asking.
Right. I think, no, I don't think there are limitations in itself. I think what we want to do at Noop is we want to create this free universal infrastructure, just like other social entrepreneurs or innovators have done in other sectors. We want to do this openly, and like we want this to be even open source in the near future, so that anybody can use this and make these tools more democratically available to all farmers across the world. So I think by choosing not to, because I think there's a fine line, and that's something we're very, very conscious of at Noop, is monetization. Of course, has some kind of monetization has to happen just to make it sustainable in the long term and keep investing. But one thing we will never do is sell, for example, the data to third parties or to businesses, because that would be against our philosophy, and that would be working against the interests of farmers, right? So I think how we see it is that we see that there's a lot of potential to really kind of create this open, free infrastructure that is available worldwide with some income generating activities. Just like, for example, I gave the example of Wikimedia Foundation. By following these models that are not necessarily monetizing in itself their data or the visits or putting advertisements, for example. So we think that it is possible to scale through this kind of more innovative model. Not sure, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. And there was actually one more question to you. How do you facilitate the transition to favor agri-food value chains and ensure market access for small-scale producers?
Right. Well, one thing that we do is we partner a lot with NGOs and with large businesses. And one way that we scale is that we reach many farmers through these alliances. So, for example, we currently have an alliance with a large consumer packaged good company that is shifting its value chain toward more sustainable agricultural models. And we are deploying the app with the farmers and their supply chain, so that we can nudge the farmers toward more sustainable agricultural practices at the same time. So we create value at the farmer level by giving them a very powerful tool that they can use in their day-to-day farm management decisions. But we can also, by pushing farmers towards these more agricultural practices, well, we also benefit the buyers, who can then from a supply chain standpoint and even a marketing standpoint, say that they're sourcing product from more sustainable production models. So that's kind of like a way that we work with these private actors to kind of scale and also facilitate market access. And also, I mean, we have so many tools, so I could answer that question in different ways. We also have the Plataforma Noop, which is a Noop platform, which is kind of like a Facebook, LinkedIn for farmer organizations, in which they can connect with buyers and present their product offerings. So that's kind of like another way also to connect with buyers. So yeah, I mean, I could talk for a very long time, but I know we have limited time available.
Thank you. This is more than enough.
But please reach out if you have more questions, please.
Yes, please reach out to our panelists from Swapcard. That's why we have profiles on our own. Just click to connect, and then you will see a chat tool to reach out to them. So one more question to Gemma. So Sandra Nessi is asking, how can we create algorithms based on new, fair, fresh data? Like, how do we reverse this situation?
Well, there's a lot that needs to be done. It's creating algorithms. It's not an easy task, especially algorithms with social impact. Basically, an algorithm, what social impact algorithms are doing is translating a complex problem into data inputs. That's a crucial step, but that's a very difficult step. How do you reduce the complexity of human life or the world into technical specifications. Just to give you an example, a few months ago, an Uber car, an autonomous Uber car in the US, killed a woman on the road. There's been a trial because of that to establish who was responsible. And in the trial, we've been able to look at the algorithm that autonomous cars are using. What we found out is that autonomous cars currently are not programmed to understand that a human being may cross the road outside of a zebra crossing. So a human being outside of a zebra crossing will not be seen by the car because the algorithm has not been told that that is a possibility. That happens not because someone forgot, but because incorporating this would be creating too much complexity. It'd be too complex for the algorithm to work. So because there's no regulation, engineers are making these decisions that have life impacting consequences. Clearly, a woman was killed in this instance, but it shows us how limited artificial intelligence is. Artificial intelligence, in order for it to work best, we need to understand what it's best at doing. What is great to show you how to get faster to your work in the morning may not be the best tool to decide whether you get medical attention. Maybe we need other tools for that, or maybe we need more complex tools for that. So that's that initial step of translating a complex social problem into data is crucial and fundamental. But we also have to accept that the world is not a great place sometimes. Algorithms discriminate for gender, race, age, because the world discriminates for gender, race, and age. We have a world where discrimination runs through everything, unfortunately. So your data will most probably, in all instances, bring with it these discriminations. So what we do is remove them. So you get data that you know will be discriminatory, and we can remove that discrimination in the system. So you don't have to have clean data at the outset, because that would be pretty much impossible. But we have ways through the algorithmic auditing methodology, we can clean up and we can identify the vulnerable populations and protect them in the way that the algorithm impacts on them. That's why you need the audit and not only the cleaning of the databases and the data sets, because oftentimes you will not be able to do that.
Thank you, Gemma. This is quite a passionate topic. So I will ask one more question, but I want to go to Francesca and direct the question to her. So how are you educating parents to support you in your work? Like, how do you work together with them?
Thank you. It's a really hard task before there is a big digital gap between the parents and children and parents and adolescents. What we try to do is to create an application, a special application is called Mindbook. And we help parents to create a collaborative approach to media education, like not to say, don't use the phone, but I can stay with you while you use the phone. We can check together news. We can check together your social profile. And it's really important to teach them to mediate, to stay together. Like, you never say to your child, go to school by your own, but you go with him, giving your hand. And now when we give technology to children, we just give the phone, use by yourself. So mostly we teach, stay together. Is a trip, and you have to stay near your children and near your adolescent when you use the phone.
Yes, thank you for your answer. So there are so many questions, sorry that we cannot answer all of them, but there is one more question from Mark Hooley to Gemma. Should there be laws that mean companies have to explain how algorithms have made their decision? I think it would be better if companies were open and honest about the results algorithms produced.
You know, the crazy thing is that we have laws. Under the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe, algorithms must be explainable. So we have the law, but we don't have the regulation. That's the problem. No one knows how to do explainability in algorithms. So the policymakers have laid out that this is important, have identified the risk, and have said the algorithm needs to be explainable. But because no one has developed tools to make that explainability a reality, no one's doing it. So our audit is also a way of helping people comply with their legal obligation, which is to make the algorithm explainable. So what we're saying is, through an audit, you can make your algorithm explainable, because the audit report that you publish in the end explains how decisions are being made, who is being impacted, how have we intervened in the algorithm to protect specific groups, why have we protected some groups and not others. All that is clear in the audit report. And so you are also being legally compliant and avoiding legal risks through doing an algorithmic audit. That's not the case in the rest of the world. The rest of the world does not have laws like the ones in Europe. But luckily, many of our clients, what they're telling us when they hire us from Australia, Latin America, or the US is, I understand that I don't have the same robust legal framework that you have in Europe, but I want to show my clients or my customers or my citizens, I want to show them that I care. I want to show them that I understand the risks, and I want them to trust these systems. Because at the end of the day, we have a huge problem with people's trust in technical systems. People are increasingly distrusting technology because their data has been abused so many times that we use technology, but we also hate technology. And that is a huge problem. So what our clients tell us is, can you help us rebuild that bridge of building trust with our clients, customers, or citizens? And that's exactly what we do, through transparency, through explainability, through explaining how things work, through providing redress mechanisms. We rebuild that trust. And so even though in some countries they don't have a robust legal framework, they want to use the algorithmic auditing as a way to prove that they care about the data of their customers.
Thank you, Gemma. Actually, thank you for making it so simple for us because it's quite a complex topic. And all of the projects have their own deepened questions. So please reach out to the panelists and ask more of your questions. And I will give back to Enrica. Thank you.
So thanks a lot for animating this conversation, answering to all our questions. And we have some minutes left where I would like to ask a round of call to action from your side, starting again from Vincent, so that how can we all work in the right direction so that also your system can get benefits from common people, I would say.
Yes, of course. Well, my call to action is very simple. I would say, ask where your food is coming from. I think the food system currently as we have it is broken. As you know, food production represents about 30% of all greenhouse gases all around the world. So has a huge environmental impact. It's also a driver for inequality in many countries. So you as a consumer, by choosing certain types of products over others, can have a huge influence. So I would say, ask where your food is coming from, support local farmers, support organic produce, support fair trade, and really learn more about the stories behind the products that you consume every day. And that can make a world of difference.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yes, this is so true. So, Gemma?
Well, it's hard to give a call to action to everyone. There's so many things that a lot of people could be doing. I guess my biggest piece of advice would be, don't believe the hype. Around technology, don't believe the hype. There's so much that it's being said about technology that is just not true. Most of the things that we talk about in technology are closer to science fiction than science. So we have a huge problem because people don't really know what technology does, because they think that the robots are just around the corner to take over our jobs. When then we have algorithms that can't even understand that a human being can cross the road outside of a zebra crossing. So there's this mismatch between the reality of technological development and what people think that technology is. And that means that we have a broken conversation because people are asking, they have concerns about things that are not really real. So my first piece of advice would be, don't believe the hype. And my call to action would be, ask how decisions are being taken. If something affects you, if your bank, your city, your country, your wellness provider, anyone make a decision about you, ask them how you came to that decision, but also understand and affirm yourself, because this is not your responsibility. We should not be calling on citizens to take the burden on technologies that are illegal, basically. When I go to the supermarket, that's an example that I always pose. I know that there's more healthy things and less healthy things, but I know that there's a process by which someone, a lot of people are ensuring that what I buy is fit for consumption. If I go to the pharmacy, I'm not a chemist, but I know that what they sell me is healthy, will not kill me at least, and will hopefully improve my health. Because we know that there's regulation processes that protect us, and that behind the curtain, there's all these things and all these people caring for us. All these things that happen behind every market out there are not happening for the technological market. So I am protected when I go to the supermarket. I am protected when I go to the pharmacy. I am protected when I go to the toy store. But if I download an app in my phone that was designed to create addiction, I have no way of knowing that. And so it's unfair to ask consumers, to ask citizens to have the responsibility of understanding how technology works. We need to demand that the system is put in place to ensure that when technology impacts our lives, someone's taken care, someone's ensured that we are visible to the technology, that the technology stops being blind to women, to Black people, to Asians, to older people. Like, the amount of discrimination that we see is just massive. Basically, everyone who's not white and male and middle-aged is an anomaly in those systems. So we need to demand that someone takes care of the rights of all of us in those systems. So yes, there's things that we can do individually, but I think that it's wrong to feel that the responsibility is on the citizen. The responsibility should be out there on the companies that are building these algorithms, on the regulators that are approving that those algorithms are sold and bought and implemented in real life settings.
Thanks a lot, Gemma. This was powerful. And we have just a couple of minutes more. So Francesca, please feel free to tell us your
Thank you. And now I will come back home. I will ask what I will eat this night. And I will download an app and ask what does it. But there is something we all together we can do now. We can trust each other, we can trust in the future, we can trust in adolescents and teenagers. So my call to action today is when you will see an adolescent, just one more smile, one more try, one more believe in you. Because we cannot trust in technology maybe, but we can trust in human in our future. So one more smile and one more try to an adolescent you will see today or tomorrow.
Thank you all so much for joining this session and joining this conversation. It has been super inspiring. For those of you who are, of course, on Swapcard, there will be more opportunities to connect with the speakers, as well as, of course, myself and SG. And at the same time, there is also a chance to see the recording of this session. So people will have this video available in the next days. So thank you so much for joining us in this session. Have a great rest of the evening and day or morning. And let's talk again soon. And you know what? I was thinking all the time while you were talking, these three people should work together, which is, you know, why Ashoka is all about. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.